Hey, I'm Mindy Kinnis. This is the Micro Dose, your weekly market outlook on all things micros. Few notes for the beginning of this video. One, welcome to everyone who is new here. Super glad to have you in the crew. And now that we are in February, I did a little updating on our radar screen over here. So under the crypto, these are all monthly contracts. So instead of F, which was January, we are now on G, which is February, because that makes total sense. So I updated this to MBT G23, that's the micro Bitcoin, MET G23, that's the micro ETH. Interest rate micros also are monthly contracts. So this is 2YYG23, that's the 2-year micro yield, the 5-year, the 10-year, and the 30. The gold is trading mostly in terms of volume on J23, so MGC, that's micro gold coin, as I consider it. SIL is silver, H23, and then MCL is micro crude, H23 as well. So just wanted to update you on the radar screen. Now let's take a look at the charts and see what's going on. So this is the Dow, still not trending. The ADX is still super low, around 10. So that's like really bad. You can see that though on the chart. It just is essentially going sideways. So not really that much to change. I'm going to leave all of this as is. So 34,669, 34,459, 33,700, and 33,396. Much better movement on the S&P. You can see it did hit both of our targets on the high resistance side, so that's awesome. And let's back up our chart to see where we have been in terms of highs so we can get a new point of resistance. And let's see how far we need to back this up. Here we go. Okay, so this was the high on Thursday, which look at that. Imagine that. That would have been our next level based on this little spike here. So we already hit that. So I'm going to bring these up to this next level up here, and then this one up to here. As for support, all I'm going to do is bring this one, I'm going to make this level 1 instead. Okay, so for the S&P or the micro S&P, 43.75, 42.64, 40.48, and 40.25. Micro NASDAQ also had a hell of a week last week. These are some serious moves up. You can see it was just shy of our second level of resistance. Didn't make it all the way up there, but pretty darn solid. This is a great example of why I'm always talking about, like, it's not about the exact number. It's not about this exact line. This is an area of interest. So this did exactly what it should do. Is it came up into our selling area or our area of resistance and headed back down. Now we'll see if it continues to go down or if it goes back up, so we'll move our lines accordingly, but always just know it's not about this exact number doesn't matter. Now with the S&P, that was a pretty fun example of when it like exactly lines up. In other words, this high point to this high point, that's super fun, but it's not about the exact level. So don't worry about that. So let's get these into their proper places. For those of you that are new, I always do 2 levels. So the closest to current price is going to be level 1. So level 1 closest on top and level 1 closest on the bottom. The blue lines are always going to be resistance. In other words, above. I think of it like a ceiling or a sky. That's why it's blue. And the lower lines are going to be your support levels, and they're green, kind of like the ground. It just makes it super easy to remember. So for the micro NASDAQ, we have 13,417, 13,108, 12,50, and 11,857. The Russell also had a pretty stellar week last week. I mean, other than the downward momentum on Friday, which basically everything had. So we're going to cruise up to here, level 1, and up top here for level 2. We'll bring these up to here. We can keep that one the same. So for the Russell, 2052, 2027, 1923, and 1885. For micro Bitcoin, you can see it kind of chilled out a bit after this really strong climb that it had the previous week. So this past week, it didn't do a whole lot. I mean, it did make new recent highs, so that's good. Again, had a pullback on Friday, but did go exactly, look at that. I love when this happens. This line I would have put on a week ago, and bam, hit it, came back down. Love that. So I'm actually going to keep that exactly as is. This one can stay as well because there's not a lot of stuff going on in between here. You can see this was just like one serious downfall, so not a ton of resistance. I mean, I guess we could bring it up to like this high right here, but that's close enough. So we will see if it continues its downward trajectory from Friday, or if it rallies again and heads back up into this zone. We'll then adjust when we need to. So for Bitcoin or micro Bitcoin, 26,912, 24,484, 22,500, and 28,22. Taking a look at micro ETH now, you can see this one did enter into that zone. So we do need to move this thing up to the next level. We'll call it good there. That one can stay and that one can stay based on this gap situation here. So for micro ETH or the biggie ETH, 1892, 1795, 1523, and 1396. Now, as usual on these little monthly contracts on the micro yields, there's just not a whole lot of data that we're going to get. So what I typically do is drag in this 10-year note chart. And this one, let's back it up a bit so we can see what's been happening. The thing to know about this is that it's always going to be in opposition. So this is the biggie, the 10-year note. This would be the micro over here. In this case, now usually micros and biggies are the same, except when we're talking about notes and micro yields, they're opposite. So as you can see, it had gone up, leveled out at that topping point, and then shot back down on Friday. So this was the exact opposite. It came down, leveled out at the bottom, and shot back up on Friday. So overall, though, still technically this is a long. It's above the cloud, but it is right now between the turning line and the standard line, and that can be a little bit messy to figure out what it's going to do. So, I mean, you guys know me. I'm not a big fan of trading these micro yields anyway, but for those of you that like, these really, really, really tiny contracts, what you could do is say, okay, well, if this technically is a long, and this technically is a short because the parabolic SAR is on top, you could wait and see if this momentum is going to carry on up or if it's going to chill out and just go down and short these things. But if I were you, I would just leave them alone for now. And actually, I would just leave them alone forever because I'm not a big fan of these little guys. The reason we can't put a cloud on these little monthly contracts is there's just not enough data to give us a proper indication. OMG. Oh, this is like my heart's delight right here. I was not trading this thing, but man, I would have loved to be in this to the short side. Look at that, 2 days worth of serious sell-off in gold. Now, again, I used the chart for the biggie, but the levels are going to be the same for the micro. Just so you guys know, like even if you're planning to trade the micro, I'm going to chart it on here because there's going to be more data. But in this case, it's going to be the same. Let's take a look at what happened. Oh my gosh, I can't even get over this. Okay, so this is way down here now. Let's bring this down to this level. I'm looking at this little area here. And then this needs to come way down to about here. All I'm going to do on the top side is tighten that up a bit. Basically in line with that parabolic SAR dot that it flipped over on Friday. You can see it only had 2 on the upside. It was having some challenges up in here and then just completely fell off the cliff, which I absolutely love. Now, if you are a technical swing trader, you may want to wait until it actually goes below this daily cloud. But for me as a day trader, or even if you were like a very, very short-term swing trader, this would have been absolutely amazing, either on the biggie or in the micro. And silver, you guys know how I've been feeling about it over the last few weeks. All of this yuck, back and forth, up and down, sideways, baloney. I almost said something else, but I'll say baloney. Anyway, I'm just glad that it finally broke through that. That's awesome. Is in the cloud now, so let's move some of these things around and get them in their proper places. This, I'm just going to keep this pretty tight because that would be our next level. I bet it will hit that with no problem. But let's bring this down to, I like this level better. That's really strong. So I was going to go here just so you guys kind of know what I'm always thinking and looking at. Like this would be the next level, but I really love this one because of the trampoline effect. You can see it came down, bounced off of that, came down, bounced off of that, and then all of this happened. So we're just going to keep that side pretty wide. And let's see what we can do up here. Again, I'm just going to tighten up these kind of top levels, bring it in line also with that parabolic SAR. We'll call it good there. So 24.753, 24.534, 22.191, and 21.050. So this is micro crude oil. You can see it also had a pretty nasty sell-off this past week. So let's see, we may actually need to back this up. That's so close. I'm not going to leave it there, but that technically would be our next level of support right there. But we're essentially right there. So I'm going to bring it down to this level, and then we need to back this up to see where it has been. Whoa. Back it up a little bit more. Let's see what we've got here. Okay, here we go. And looks like about there is the next space. So we'll bring this down to that area. We can open this up again. And then as for overhead resistance, we can leave that one, but I'm going to flip these. So this one can come down to about here. That one can stay in terms of these recent highs up in here. So 82, 79, 70, and 68. That is your microdose for the week starting February 5th. I will look forward to seeing you guys later tonight in Lucrative Trader. I'm Mindy Kinnis. Thanks so much for watching.